So everyone, and welcome to another video where we're gonna talk more about Fate Total of War and the faction Einzbern. After we've gone through with Mato and Tosaka, obviously we have the third and last faction, as we know about, that we will talk about here today. And just like the other factions, there will be lots of new faces, but also some very familiar ones. And Einzbern will hold their base at the Einzbern Castle, of course, and Kiritsugu, while not will participate in this war, because he passed away 4 years before the events of Fate Total War, have he become a very important and pivotal character in the Einzbern faction. In fact, most of the characters and most of those that are in the faction is there because of him. So this is the faction. Ilya is the Grand Master, with her brothers Shira and Hera being fellow masters. I will talk more about Hera later on. Also does Sela and Lazarus appear as masters, as a duo forming to one master. Tiger will also join, however she was mostly dragged into this by sheer accident. Goro is a former merc that retired after the war, but now he get a new chance to prove his worth. And last one is Bob, a wild card that appeared from nowhere, claiming she was a master and proved to be a master in the faction. So now we have the names of the masters, so we're gonna dive in a little bit deeper about them, as well their servants. And as before, a little bit of a disclaimer, because there is still lots of things I'm learning, as the previous faction have been showing, that there's still lots of things I don't know about Fate-verse. So take everything I take with a big scoop of salt, and please share what you think is good, what is bad, and what you think I should change and all that, because most likely I will change these later on, make another video where I talk about the changes and things like that, because I already have a couple of changes in mind actually from the previous factions. So first of all, we of course have the Grandmaster Ilya von Einzbern. She was pierced by the Holy Grail after the events of Fate Zero, and she was quite a natural choice, considering that her bond with the Grail and the connection with her mother that was well turned into the Grail, and that was one, if not the main reason why she was picked as a Grandmaster. And I know that by normal standard Ilya would be dead by now, because homunculi have a shortened lifespan. They have to have a certain years of being alive before they die and all that. However, the Grail keeps her alive. Let us say that it let her live on borrowed time. However, when the war is over, and if she survived the war, so to speak, she most likely will die, because she had been living on borrowed time. Under the years after Fate Zero, Ilya had been growing to be a very competent mage and warrior, trained by Kiritsugu with the soul and the part of the Grail of her mother within, that guards her and strengthen her. As well, Kiritsugu really makes sure that she is trained for the war that comes. Unlike in Fate's Day Night, have Ilya not been alone, and instead she had been growing together with a family, surrounded by people that loves her and she loved them, and instead her personality is a bit more warm and open. I would say leaning a little bit more at Fate Kaleid, with the kind of mentality, rather than how she is in Fate's Day Night, having that kind of messed up view on life and things, and making her have more empathy and understanding of people around her and all of that. Also, her wish is not 100% sure. Maybe she wished to become a human and can live a normal life, or maybe she wished for something like her mother and father, that they will be united, their souls and all of that. Who knows, much of that can be worked out. As for the servant, she is the Grand Master of Lancer, the legendary Karna. And it's kind of interesting contrast between Ilya and Karna, because Karna is the son of a sun god, if I don't remember it wrong, while Ilya is more represented by snow and cold and all of that. And I think that just that is a little bit odd, you know, the differences. Karna and Ilya do have a good connection between each other, with lots of respect and understanding of each other, and I would say that Karna feels more fitting here than he felt in Fate Apocrypha, where he pretty much, well, he didn't never get to interact with his real master, so to speak. And here I think that Ilya and Karna will make an interesting, and most of all, a very terrifying strong duo. Over to the next master, Emiya Shiro. Yes, he is here as well. He pops up everywhere. He's the adopted son of Kiritsugu and brother to Ilya and Hera. Is Shiro this time a well-trained magus and warrior that gone through some rigorous training thanks to Kiritsugu, and not to mention the Einzbern family, because the old man, he has been sure that every single one of them gonna be so fucking strong. He acts more as a guardian to Ilya, like, you know, he's a guard, he stand by her side all the time, no matter what, he will be there and fight for her sake. He feeling like he is the big brother, even if she's actually older than him, but he have that mentality, you know, as usually, that he wants to protect her at no cost. No, there is no cost. He will do whatever it takes to do that. Though there will still be the part of Shira that we know about, that he loves to cook. He will be often found in the kitchen, where he kind of annoys some of the homunculus that are trying to cook, because he's there and making a mess. Even if he really don't need to cook, because they do have others that cook for him, but still, he enjoys it and he do his share of things. As we know, Shira is an excellent marksman, and here he also been trained to be a very competent magus, as well warrior in general, trained by Kiritsugu in general. And the thing is though, that he doesn't have the strongest magic circuits, because he never received any from Kiritsugu. Instead, those went to Hera. What he do compensate with though is having this great skill and being an insanely stubborn, but we do know how stubborn he can be. Shiro do Shiro things. That is pretty much it. And his servant is Ryder, no other than Richard Lionheart. Just when I was presenting the Mato family Shinji with Ryder Saladin, and someone of you about, oh man, it would be fun to have Ryder Lionheart. I already had that plan, so that was because when I added Saladin, I already had like, man, I need to have Lionheart somewhere here, because I would love the interaction between them. Like, it would be a second war between these two great warlords and all of that. So here he is as Shiro's servant. But it's not only about that, it's gonna be about Saladin versus Lionheart, but also the little thing, a little twist about Shinji versus Shiro, considering their connections through the different Fate franchise, how they usually end up being enemies. And I think that would be a little fun thing to see how they would interact this time, being that Shinji is a very different person and Shiro is also a little bit different compared to the other parts of Fate. So it's gotta be lots of things going on with them two brawling out like that. And when it comes to MP for Lionheart, I would think it's something similar to a Saladin, an army type of noble phantasm that probably is about the Third Crusade. Maybe it's the Third Crusade as noble phantasm, you know, that he's gathering knights, the holy knights that will strike. And that is also something that would be a very interesting thing, because Saladin also have his army versus Richard Lionheart, so they counter each other. I mean, they are equal forces pretty much. And I think that would be quite fucking interesting to see. And yes, I didn't mention about Karna's MP and all that, but that is because we already know about it in the show, in Fate Grand Order and all of that, so that is why I skipped that little part of that. So, and then we have the Duo Masters, Cell and Lacerit. Over the years and through the influence of Ilya, have they grown more as person and gained a little bit more of their own personality, a bit more similar to Fate Khaled. However, just like Ilya would have been dead quite a long time ago, and Ilya refused to let that happen though, because she is very connected to these two, and instead she used a seal of some sort, a curse possibly, that bound them to her, that if she died, they die as well. But as long as she is alive, they will be kept alive as well by time. They literally leaving on her lifespan. And since she is prolonging her lifespan thanks to the Grail, it doesn't really affect in that sense until the war is over. If it had been a normal person, of course, Ilya would be aged quite a lot, because she literally takes the constant aging of 3 people. But since she's an homunculus as well, the Grail, I know this is a bit of a stretch, but I thought it would be interesting, because having these two as servants like this, well, they are technically servants, but masters, and Ilya she thinks it's worth to do it, because she loves them as they are. And together, Cell and Lacerit combined to a very strong master that have these combined mana source. Why they can't really, they can't use magic, are very dedicated soldiers. They use all sorts of kind of weaponry and have been trained with the rest of Kiritsugu. Yes, Kiritsugu have been training them. I can just say that if all of them have been trained in certain levels, in certain range by Kiritsugu and all of that, you have some very, very strong and very scary soldiers to fight with. And there's also a reason why there are two masters, well, combined to one master. And that's because they are master of Berserker, that is known as Melanchomas Diagoras. I mean, I need to check up the name because it was a little bit of a... I don't remember. This is a combination of two phantoms. Yes, I have been reading up a little bit about phantoms and hopefully I get it somehow right. And they are two ancient Greece boxers that were very famous of their time. Melanchomas and Diagoras, that combined to this one Berserker. And the interesting thing is that Melanchomas is famous for never ever taking a hit. And he's a boxer. He literally fought his opponents until they get too tired and gave up, literally refusing to fight him anymore because they couldn't hit him. He never attacked, he never struck them. He just avoided, dodged, blocked, and never got hit in a way that you would consider a hit, except blocks of course. And I think that is a kind of interesting thing, because that makes him an incredible defensive hero, and he's a Berserker. And unlike most Berserker, he doesn't have weapons, he literally uses fists, and he's acting only on defense. He won't strike with attacks, he will instead try to tire them out. This is here why there are two of them, because Lacerit controls the defensive Melanchomas. When she's in combat, when she is controlling him, he will act as a Melanchomas only on defense. However, when Sella switch in, he will change to Diagoras, that was very offensive and will be an offensive force instead and go in to attack and annihilate the opponents. And I thought that would be, first of all, just the interesting concept of a Berserker that's actually very defensive. And have this switch between attack and offense between the two phantoms that combine to this one hero, this one servant. And I did have two ideas of their NPs. Now, of course, this is just, as I said, this is literally just random things. And I would say that Melanchomas, that there are two different NP. One for Melanchomas, of course, and one for Diagoras. Melanchomas create a ring, the ring of the ring of Caria. It was Melanchomas of Caria, and anyone within that field can't hit him, no matter what. Even if it's absolutely, well, of course, if you have the absolute strongest magic resistance and all of these things, of course you do. But now nothing. He bends reality around him to not be hit. The problem is though he can't attack either. It literally is to bend any sort of attack away from him. So if, for example, Saber would use Excalibur to try to blast him away, and he activated field, the beam would literally just either possibly stop in front of him, or it would bend and go around him, or direct to a different way, or something like that. That would be that kind of power. I think would be quite interesting. While it's very strong, it doesn't have any offensive capabilities. Though, I'm gonna see what the champion of Rhodes is the Diagoras. And what he do there is that he can strike at any time to anyone within that area. That he sacrifices all his defense to go full offense. He will be able to hit people that is evading or is indestructible, that he can punch through all of these defenses with multiple strikes. Though, as I said, he doesn't dodge anything, he doesn't defend himself, he just go pretty much opposite of Melanchomas. He go full right on to strike down and destroy pretty much. So I thought this was a bit interesting in general about these two different servants combined to one, so to speak, with these phantoms. So this is my take on Melanchomas, Diagoras, and Sella and Lacerit. So, and now over to a new characters that you probably haven't seen. This is an actually character that belongs originally to my friend Saba Biomu. This character has been appearing in lots of different stories and settings we have. And his name is Hera. And as I mentioned, he's brother of Shira and Ilya, being the son of Maya and Kiritsugu. You'll probably remember Maya from Fate Zero, that she was a bit of a lover to Kiritsugu and all of that. And Hera was born a bit before the events of Fate Zero and all of that. And when Maya died, a message reached out to Kiritsugu that told about Hera, and he felt that it was his duty to call him. Well, take him in and train him. And Hera had more of the mindset of the old Kiritsugu, that sometimes you need to make sacrifices. He doesn't show much of emotion. He's showing this cold facade. Though he really do cares about people, but he is very not good at showing and explaining his emotions and feelings. And just like Kiritsugu does, Hera sees himself as a tool to make sure that their faction win this Grail War. And Hera is pretty much a talent in anything he takes on, either it's fighting, in magic, or anything like that. And he also inherited Kiritsugu's magic circuits, because Kiritsugu saw that Hera would be the stronger of Hera and Shira as they grow up and define themselves more. And Hera is a prodigy of a million. He is so talented, though as I mentioned, his social skills is very awkward, not too very good at those parts. He is the master of assassin, that is Kiritsugu. Yes! He summoned the counterforce of Kiritsugu actually one possible reason as I see it, because the other factions are so incredibly strong that they needed something extra to back it up. And Kiritsugu is that, because as someone mentioned that would love to see Kiritsugu here, because it would be cool to just see him being summoned as what he is in Fate Grand Order. And he will be summoned here, in my thought at least. And it was not actually meant to be Kiritsugu, but it still happened. He summoned Kiritsugu, and he will still act as an father. He will still try to act as that, and as well master and train them and prepare them for what's coming. As well, now he fights as a servant. I thought it would be quite interesting little twist, and interesting how it would be for the characters like Ilya, Shira, and everyone for that matter, that seeing Kiritsugu again, but yet not, because it's a Kiritsugu of a different power. I thought that was just could be interesting, so that was why Hera summons Kiritsugu as an assassin. And then we have the new master, my favorite, that I felt I needed to have in this, Taiga. And as we get to see and read about in Fate Zero and Fate Night that Kiritsugu and her father are friends, did it lead that she would often visit them, and when she became a teacher, she would also go there sometimes to teach them at home, because most of them, like Ilya, haven't gone to school and all of that. So she became like a bit of a homeroom teacher and all of that. And in all of this, she somehow, maybe it was some of the others that kind of messed it up, but she learned about magic that is real, and she started to learn it as well. And she wanted to learn because she was curious at it, but she kind of sucks at it as well. Taiga haven't done too well in that regard. And when the masters were chosen, Taiga, just by much as she learned about magic, was an excellent pick. And you know, the Grail, it can be quite finicky when it comes to things like that. And she became the master of Caster, which is Alfred Nobel, the father of Dynamite, that have been mentioned a couple of times actually, because I would love to see him as an servant and Caster servant. And he is a bit disappointed when he's summoned by Taiga, that is quite weak, but he will take it on himself to strengthen her, because if she gets strong, he gets strong in that sense. And kind of interesting is that he's throwing around dynamite as main weapon and fused with magical energy that do they explode. And for that was fitting. So, and his NP, I have two in mind that I could imagine him with. One as I would call the Nobel Peace Prize, where he caused a massive explosion that annihilates everything in a big area and literally mean peace, because there's nothing left. If there's nothing left, there can't be any war. Haha. That is kind of cruel, but that is one idea. And the other one is a self-sacrificing one, just like Frankenstein, that he makes himself like literally he transforms himself literally to be a bomb. And the goal is to take down at least one very powerful enemy with him. That is my little ideas of Alfred Nobel. I think it would be very interesting to see as well. Taiga, of course. Taiga is amazing. I love her. I know you do. You do know I do love her and all of that. So I thought it could be an interesting, fun little thing to see how this would play out. Next up is Goro, a former merc that lost his arm in a major war way back, and after that he's been working as a weapon dealer, selling weapons and service to warlords worldwide. He's been quite in the shady business. With his wide area of contacts, it's no weird that Kiritsugu had contact with him before, and Goro is the reason why the homunculus of Einzbern have better weapons than normally has, and access to weapons they shouldn't have, but hey, business is business. And once again, is Kiritsugu the reason for this character to be here, Goro becoming a master? Because Kiritsugu was the one that saved Goro when he lost his arm in that war, and he pretty much said, you one day will pay me back, and saved his ass. And Goro taking that very seriously, that when Kiritsugu asked for his help to this war, Goro stepped up and said, yeah, sure, I'm gonna pay back my debt to you. And while he's not a very strong magus in that sense, as well does he miss one arm, so he of course have a very big handicap. But when it comes to experience of war, when it comes to weaponry, contacts, you could not find a better guy for that kind of thing. And he's the master of Saber, that is the legendary first emperor of Japan, Jinmu. And there is not too much information about it, so I wouldn't say how... I'm not entirely sure how strong he would be. He could, of course, become incredibly powerful, but also a little bit on the weaker side. Though Jinmu was gifted the 3 relics of Japan, that is among that is Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the sword that can pretty much rule the wind and all of that. And that would obviously be an NP for him, that he have these 3 relics. And yeah, I mean, as I said, I don't know too much about him. I was reading up a little bit random, looking for an interesting character, and well, Jinmu appeared for me, and I was like, let's go for him. So there we have Goro and Jinmu. Last but not least is Bob Budokai. She's actually my main character in Fate in 13, and she is one of my bigger OCs that I have worked with for a very long time, and I felt like it would be fun for her to have a little bit of an interesting little role in this Fatal War. And she is a former enforcer that was a very strong and big rival to Basset. As I could see, these two, Basset and Bob, were constantly challenging each other to prove who's stronger. And they are both very similar because both use fists and infuse themselves with magic empowerment and things like that. And yeah, when Basset was chosen in the Tosaka faction to be a master, Bob felt that could she really not be a master herself, and she left the Magic Association, Mage Association, to do this, and she wanted to prove herself to everyone that she is not weaker than Basset. So there's a little bit of pride there, and Bob will be a nice counter towards Basset, because Basset is the kind of character that otherwise will pretty much roam haywire and fuck everyone over. So Bob is pretty much a counterpart towards Basset, to being able to weigh down the scale a little bit to the more equal plane. Though Bob also have lots of children, so there is also a big reason why she's in this war, and she will act very motherly towards Ilya, Shira and Hera and everyone pretty much. And I thought that also could be quite fun to be having her like running around there like being like a big mom, and she's the kind of character that would be so well together with Ilya. I would love to see them together like that. And she will become the master of Archer, Cthulhu, which was the daughter of Kaidu, a cousin to Kubla Khan, and she was a real badass. In my mind, she could easily take the role of either Archer or Rider, because she was a very skilled rider as well, Archer. But in this case, she appears as an Archer. And you know that you're a badass when even the great Khan praises you and see you as the favorite. And Cthulhu was one of those that she was very strong and very dedicated, and she was like this, that she refused to marry someone that can't beat her in wrestling, because that was one of these things that they did often to prove themselves. And she won apparently 1,000 of horses from men that failed to beat her. So I thought that could be an interesting thing. First of all, she's an archer, but would they come into close combat? She have wrestling as well to kick their asses with, to surprise them, of course. And then I do like the idea of that. And her MP, as I could see, I could imagine would be that she releases 1,000 horses. You know, like literally, they appear from nowhere, like. That is just one idea. I mean, I don't have so much information about her yet either, so I will definitely try to work it out. And yeah, that is Bob and Cthulhu. That will be for now of this part of the Total War series. We now have the church, and I do have a little other things planned as well. And as before, if you comment what you think is good, what is bad, what you enjoy with this. As I said, this is not nothing real. This is just a fandom thing I do. I just enjoy to do this. But if you find it interesting and you want to write, you want to do servant cards, or you want to draw, use it for your own art piece, feel free to use it. Take my idea assemblies as however you want it to be. And I hope you do enjoy it and can have a good time with it. And yeah, hopefully it inspires you a little bit, because I think this is super fun, and I'm definitely gonna work more with these. I have now the church to work with, and that's gonna be fucking interesting.